So, ladies and gentlemen, unless, many of you were living under a rock over the weekend, you probably noticed that there was quite a large attack against Israel from the nation of Iran. Now, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world, obviously, but around this specific topic, there tends to be a lot of anger and frustration. So, I want to bring you the news. I want to bring you what happened. And I want to share with you what I think Israel's response might be, because that ultimately is going to determine whether or not this escalates or whether or not this is able to just kind of go away and we can all just move on without a bunch more people dying. Okay, so let's get into the news. From the New York Post, Iran celebrates attack despite Israel and the U.S. shooting down vast majority of 300 drones and missiles. Yes, they did fire over 300 drones and missiles at Israel. Let's continue. Israel shot down the vast majority of drones and missiles shot at them by Iran after the Jewish state was attacked in a vicious Saturday barrage, officials said. Iran launched some 300 drones and missiles from within the Islamic Republic as well as from proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Lebanon. The vast majority of the missiles were intercepted outside of Israeli airspace, the Israeli Defense Forces said in a statement. The United States came to Israel's aid and shot down some 70 drones and 3 ballistic missiles. Little damage was reported. One Israeli military base suffered minor damage, and one child was hurt by drone shrapnel. Nothing of value was hit in Israel. Okay, whoa, hey. Okay. I'm just gonna say this. I believe this is a. President Biden. Okay, President Biden, you might not want to say that nothing of value was hit when a child was hurt by drone shrapnel. Okay, they didn't die, but they were hit. Okay, gosh, our president is a freaking dingus. Okay, let's continue. Nothing of value was hit in Israel, President Biden told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We intercepted, we repelled, together we shall win, Netanyahu posted on X early Sunday. Israeli Defense Forces spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari told the Associated Press, meanwhile, a wide-scale attack by Iran is a major escalation. Now, you're asking yourself, why would Iran do this? Well, other than the fact that Iran quite literally hates Israel and has threatened that if they ever get a nuke, then they would use it to wipe Israel off the map in a bloody genocide. But this right here is much more of the reason why they chose to attack Israel in this way. And in fact, this is the first time that Iran has ever physically attacked the nation of Israel directly. They've used proxies in the past, and they have been using proxies for the last several months, since October 7th, to attack Israel. Now, this, however, is exactly why they chose to do this attack over the weekend. From the BBC, Iran accuses Israel of killing generals in a Syria strike. Iran's Revolutionary Guards say 7 officers have been killed in an Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate building in Syria's capital, Damascus. Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahidi, a senior commander in the elite Quds force, and Brigadier General Mohammad Hadi Haji Rahimi. Gosh, I'm surprised I was able to get that. Okay, I'm feeling myself today. His deputy were named among the dead. Iran and Syria's governments condemned the attack, which destroyed a building next door to the Iranian embassy. The Israeli military said it did not comment on foreign media reports. However, it is acknowledged carrying out hundreds of strikes in recent years on targets in Syria that it says are linked to Iran and allied armed groups, which are armed, funded, and trained by the Revolutionary Guards. Now, I want to focus on this right here. Iran and Syria's governments condemned the attack, which destroyed a building next door to the Iranian embassy. Now, I have seen conflicting reports on this. I have seen conflicting reports stating that the embassy was flattened. I've seen reports saying that the embassy was hit. I've seen reports saying, just like this, that it was a building next door to the Iranian embassy and that some damage was done to the embassy, okay? Ultimately, I don't know which one of these is true. I really don't. All I do know is that there were, I believe, over 60 people that were killed. Okay. And many of them were, and a couple of them were generals in the Iranian military. Now, according to international law, striking a embassy is essentially the same as striking that nation's sovereign territory. Okay. So obviously, Iran has come out after this attack, and they have stated that the reason for their attack against Israel over the weekend is because of this strike on the Iranian embassy. I'm using air quotes because, like I said, it's not, I haven't seen a report that confirms that the actual embassy was hit. I've seen reports that it is the embassy and that it's a building next to it. Okay, I'm just going off of the information that I've seen so far. Iran is saying that their attack on Israel is because of that. Okay, now any Israeli sitting here before you would say, well, we were already at war with Iran because Iran was using proxy groups to attack us for months now. And they have been using proxy groups to attack Israel for years, which is true. I'm sorry. It is a fact that Hezbollah up in Lebanon and Hamas down in the Gaza Strip are funded by Iran. This is a fact. This is not disputed by anyone. Okay, so ultimately, what we are waiting on here is Israel's response. How will they choose to escalate this? Will they choose to see the fact that they shot down the majority of missiles and drones as a victory in itself and say, oh, well, yeah, you attacked us, but you didn't really do anything because, we shot them all down. So in the end, we won, Will they choose to see it that way, or will they choose to say, no, we're going to get into a direct hot conflict, okay? Now, ultimately, this is what we are seeing from European allies with Israel, okay? European allies urge Israel against military response to Iran as war cabinet convenes. United Kingdom, France, and Germany urged Israel on Monday not to retaliate against Iran after its unprecedented attack on Saturday night, warning that a military response could send the Middle East spiraling into an all-out war as Israel's war cabinet prepared to meet to discuss its options against Tehran. Speaking to the BBC ahead of an expected statement by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Monday afternoon, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said that while the inclination to respond to the roughly 350 attack drones and missiles launched by Tehran was justified, Israel needs to think with its head as well as its heart, to be smart as well as tough. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. The United States, speaking from an American perspective, okay, just a blue collar American citizen, okay. I gotta be honest with you. I don't think America can afford a war right now, especially a war with a military as large and as powerful as Iran. Okay, I'm not saying the U.S. would lose. I'm saying we really can't afford it as a nation. We just can't. The average American citizen is struggling to pay their bills, struggling to pay rent, can't put groceries on the table, or is at least struggling to put groceries on the table, and is struggling to put gas in their car to be able to get to work in the first place. Insurance has gone up in almost every single sector. Guys, ultimately, you know what? I want to see if I can pull up this chart here. There was a recent chart showing the insane level of inflation that has been going on, and I believe I reposted it, but I could be wrong. But it was a chart showing the massive differences in inflation levels between the Trump presidency and the Biden presidency, and it was a massive difference. Goodness gracious, I can't find it. No, that's not it. I apologize, guys. I should have had it pulled up already. It's yeah. I'm not really able to find it, but yeah, it's it ultimately the difference in inflation between the Trump presidency and the Biden presidency is massive. It's a massive difference, and the American people can feel it. We really can. In everyday life, we can feel the difference in our wallets, man. And ultimately, our military is also feeling the same thing because, one, we've been failing to meet our recruiting standards for months now. I believe over the last 6 months, the U.S. military, possibly even longer, the U.S. military has not met its recruiting standards. I believe the Marines are one of the only branches of our military that actually can sometimes hit their recruiting standards. But other than that, no other branch of the military meets their recruiting standards. It's just the Marines. That's not enough, guys. It's not enough. Then you've got the fact that we've been implementing all of these woke policies, which is a reason why we can't meet a lot of the recruiting standards, but is also making our military a lot weaker because they're focusing on woke ideology rather than being combat ready. Then you have the fact that while we are a heavily funded military, our training has fallen off. Our military has lowered the training standards. They've lowered the application standards. They've said, oh, well, women haven't been able to meet these recruiting standards over here and these training standards. So, rather than just kicking out the women because, we need to have a strong military, we'll just lower the standards for everybody. Guys, this isn't working. It's not working at all. Especially in the U.S. military. The U.S. military is supposed to be strong so that they can protect our nation, and it's not working. The U.S. military has gotten weaker. Now, I'm not saying that we would lose to Iran. Okay? When it comes to the wars that the U.S. has lost, literally lost, for example, Afghanistan, Vietnam, these are insurgencies, essentially, that the U.S. is fighting. And insurgencies are very effective against fighting very large, powerful armies, okay? So, when it comes to fighting insurgencies, I got to be honest with you, the United States sucks. We suck at fighting insurgencies. I'm sorry. Afghanistan shows that. Vietnam shows that, okay? We're not good at this, dude. Like maybe, we had some success in Iraq, in Syria, but ultimately there's still massive amounts of insurgency groups in those countries that are still fighting us to this day. Okay, so ultimately, this is something that the U.S. military is not good at. A war with Iran, however, would be a more traditional kind of war. Military, large, powerful military versus large, powerful military. This is something that the U.S. military is much more accustomed to. This would be a war that the U.S. military is much better at fighting, in my opinion. But then ultimately, it would most likely result in, the U.S. would infiltrate, they would invade. There would be fighting all the way up to Tehran. The U.S. might even occupy all of Iran's territory. But then ultimately, the population will dissolve into insurgency groups, and they will fight back, and they will defend their country. And ultimately, it's probably just going to be just like what happened in Afghanistan. I got to be honest with you. That's most likely what's going to happen if this escalates. Now, in my personal opinion, I really hope that this does not escalate. As an American citizen, I don't think we can afford it. I don't think it would be good for our nation. And ultimately, I don't want to end up in another 20 years of war in the Middle East. I just don't. I believe that our country cannot stand another 20 years of war in the Middle East. I don't believe we can. Economically, politically, no matter which way you look at it, I don't think that we can handle that. But secondly, I don't know if Israel would be able to handle that. I don't know if Europe would be able to handle that. Ultimately, guys, I really hope that this de-escalates. I really hope that these tensions can calm down and that some of the attacks can stop. Obviously, Israel is going to continue to try to seek justice against Hamas in Gaza for the October 7th attack. In terms of what Israel will do in this situation, I got to be honest with you guys. I think that they're going to escalate. I really do. I think that they're going to escalate. There's been reports showing that there's they could give a response to Iran as soon as today. As soon as today. Now, ultimately, if you were going to attack Iran directly, I think that it would probably take a little bit longer than just 2 days. So I'm hoping it's not a direct attack against Iran, because that's just going to escalate things further. But of course, I could be wrong. Maybe Israel has been planning an attack on Iran for decades and we just didn't know it. I don't know, man. We're just going to have to wait and see. But ultimately, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I believe that they will escalate. And it will result in a war between Israel and Iran, which, of course, Europe and the U.S. will, of course, be dragged into it. I don't know, man. I really hope that this doesn't happen. But as of right now, from what I've seen, I'm not seeing an off-ramp. I'm just not. I'm not seeing the off-ramp. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm going to leave it there. I'll have another video coming for you guys on Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section, and share the show with your friends. Follow me on all the socials down in the description. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.